In this tutorial, we'll be talking about the supply system in WarPlan. There are several definitions we need to define so you can better understand these concepts. Clicking on the supply toggle will show a player of the supplied situation. Supply sources come in two forms: main supply sources and port supply sources. Supply stockpile is the amount of supply a source generates. Main supply sources are resources designated as supply sources in the scenario. Usually they're urban tiles of production. They provide an unlimited supply stockpile. The supply map shows these locations with green highlight. A port supply source is any port. The port size determines how much supply stockpile that port provides. Ports are limited supply sources. Every port size provides 20 supply stockpile. Ports range from a size 1 to 9. Ports of 5 or higher size are able to repair naval groups. The supply map blue highlighted. Resources are part of supply sources. One transport point must be available to provide port supply for each port. Map supply level, this is the quality of the supply being given. It ranges from 1 to 9. The higher the number, the better the quality of supply. Unit supply level is how many turns a unit can be in an unsupplied hex before negative effect occurs. Different units have different maximum unit supply levels. Land, air, and most naval units have a maximum of 3. Submarines have a maximum of 5 or 8 depending on their advancement. Unit supply is how much supply stockpile a unit uses. This information is always shown on the unit selected. If there's not enough supply stockpile to fully supply a unit, then the ratio of what is available and what is needed is used to determine the supply condition. Map supply levels start at 9 from the supply source. As long as the source travels across undamaged rail hexes over friendly territory, the supply level will stay at 9. From the rail, the supply will diminish by the cost of the train in the motorized movement. Motorized movement is +1 cost to in any hex that is considered rugged. A unit will get a supply stockpile as long as the map supply level is at least 1. Units will always get the maximum unit supply level when they are in supply each turn. If they are not in supply, the unit supply levels will drop down by 1. In a network of main supply, their supply use is always fulfilled. The information panel will show you the supply source of the hex. Its import supply will use the stockpiles available. Once the stockpile runs out, units will get minimal supply. Units in the port also suffer supply loss over a distance away from the port. Units 11 to 20 hexes away will use forced supply stockpile to deliver 3. 21 to 30 hexes away, 2 supply stockpile to deliver 1. Units will not be in supply if they are more than 31 hexes away from a port supply source. The full effects of this are seen in North Africa and when the Allies land in France late in the war. Naval units are automatically resupplied at any port that is in supply, without using supply stockpile. If a fleet is out at sea, it is considered not on supply source. Naval units out of supply counterattack and defend at 50% of their combat power. The most important aspect of supply is that it recovers a unit's effectiveness. This attribute represents morale, equipment damage, and fatigue. Being within 5 hexes of a headquarters recovers bonus effectiveness. Each unit recovers a base plus any headquarters bonus plus the map level supply bonus. If a unit is in port supply, but there is no more stockpiles, they only receive a very minor effectiveness recovery, but their full unit supply level. Supply trucks can be used to increase a unit supply level and restore a minor amount of effectiveness. Oilers can be used to resupply a fleet's unit supply level, but not their effectiveness. Logistics also has an impact on supply. The less logistics capacity a country uses, the more of a bonus they receive to their effectiveness during the supply phase. The bonus is minor, but important enough to mention. Port supply can be interdicted. Naval units within 4 hexes and air units within up to 8 hexes can lower the supply stockpile at any port. Enemy forces can never completely blockade a port, but can reduce it to minimal supply. A player may place fleets and air units within the same range to protect the port from interdiction. There's a small chance that supply transport gets sunk during a supply interdiction. Supply logistics are part of WarPlan's game strategy. Players must realize their supply requirements to organize an invasion or overseas supply.